Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for your patience. I wanted to take some time away from doing reviews for a couple of days because for this particular show, there's a lot of conflict and tension and just anxiety when it comes to this show for me. I don't know why that is. I'm thinking maybe I'm extra sensitive, but I'm seeing this sentiment expressed across different forums about this show. So I needed to take a step back, gather my thoughts, and then express how I felt about the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, which I believe is season 4, episode 7. Initially, I was going to talk about the party or the Galentine's event that Kimmy threw for the ladies. I'm just going to sum it up really quickly and say this could have all been avoided if Melody did not invite Kiki to this party. Even if she didn't have negative intentions, in my opinion, the act of inviting Kiki to the party and not inviting Tisha and Destiny was an act of microaggression, which is why she got the response that she did from the people on the show and some of the members of the audience. So I'm not surprised about the blowback about this. Melody's going to have to figure out a way to politic around this because everybody was saying that inviting Kiki to this party without inviting Destiny and Tisha was messy. Kimmy said it the day that it happened. So I hope Melody is not surprised about the negative feedback that she's getting from the people on this show, as well as some people in the audience. And if you're going to play politics, you have to make sure that, you have an exit strategy. You have to make sure that you're not hurting yourself or your brand by creating unnecessary drama for the sake of this show, or whatever the case may be. I have no idea why Melody invited Kiki. She wasn't necessary for that party. So why was she there? Yes, I think Kiki showed some evidence of Melody inviting her to events before, and Melody wanted to invite Kiki to a party years ago to figure out who was going to be on the show, and Tisha stabbed her in the back and was like, nah, whatever. So we know that they've had a relationship. It's just that the optics and the timing was really, really bad, and Tisha took it the way that a lot of people would have, especially if Melody recently declared that, she was her opposition, her opponent. And so Destiny is frustrated because she still doesn't understand what is going on. She feels like Melody's reactions or responses are exaggerated, and she wants the opportunity for them to work it out, but Melody is not on that type of time right now, and so I think Destiny should just fall back and stop trying to be her friend. It is what it is. So something else happened in this episode that I thought was very telling. There was a scene with Martell, and I think the guy's name is Fred, the guy with the general contracting license, and I was wondering where he was. The guy, Fred, whoever his name is, he wanted Martell to get his builder's license in order to forge a sort of a working relationship with him. And so did Marsau. He was like, if he gets his builder's license, I'll know he's seriously committed to this. And Martell said something very, very, very interesting. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, would it be a good idea to get my builder's license? Yes. Is it necessary? No. And he's correct. But this made me realize that the reason why Martell was so supportive of Melody as far as her becoming the head of Holt & Holt in a sense was because he wanted to piggyback off of her hard work and success without actually having to do the work himself, but still having the same level of power and ownership in the company as a co-owner. But he didn't feel like he had to do as much work as Melody as far as getting her the builder's license and things like that. Martell is the type of person, in my opinion, that's like a low-key pimp. I'm going to let you do all the hard work, but because we buddies and we friends and I'm your husband, you're going to share the power with me. And I'm going to act like I'm a manager and I'm running shit by way of your license, right? And so initially, I was like, yeah, Martell wanted to see Melody win. He wanted her to be successful. And I believed that. But now I think there was more of an insidious reason for it. I think he wanted Melody to get all this paperwork because he didn't want to get it himself. But because Melody is a woman, right, and women are more likely to share power than men, he knew that by Melody getting her license, he would benefit from her license. without actually having to do any of the work. And I talked about this briefly on one of my previous posts about the fact that these men want you to be, treat them like kings, but they're not running nothing, right? They want you to treat them like kings and in charge of shit. But without her license, you would have been working for somebody. Martell doesn't want to work for somebody who has a general contractor's license. He wants to partner with somebody, meaning I want to have equal ownership and power in this company, even though I don't have the paperwork. I'll just do whatever I feel like doing to contribute to the organization, which is why he wants to buy back into Skult. Instead of asking Marsau for a job or asking Fred for a job, he wants to act like he's the boss because he's a Capricorn and they got to run something. They got to control somebody. So he had a really sweet deal when it came to Melody because Black women prefer to be in relationships where there's an equal balance of power. A lot of Black women, like Melody, support their man through high school, through college. They want to see their man elevate in society. They want to see their men elevate financially and socially and emotionally because women inherently know that if a man is doing better, then the relationship benefits for the most part. That doesn't always happen because once these men level up, sometimes they go the Martell route and try to cheat on the woman who helped them to level up in the first place. But most women want their man to do better, right? Most men don't want that, especially in the Black community. The Black community, the men feels threatened when the woman is doing better, when she's getting educated, when she's doing more for herself, because, and common sense would say, if a man is really in partnership with a woman, he would benefit if she's doing better too. If they're both getting their paperwork together, if they're both highly educated or educated, whatever, they're both working as a team collectively, you would want two strong people in the relationship. But Black men in general, not all Black men, but many of them are only comfortable in relationships where they feel like the woman has to be with them. The woman is completely dependent on them for sustenance, for affection, for love, for self-esteem. When a Black woman usually is in these relationships with Black men, she has to fight for her autonomy. She has to fight for her self-respect. She has to fight for her integrity. And more than likely, she has to fight for her right to self-actualize, to reach her highest potential. Because in a lot of Black men's minds, if a Black woman reaches her highest potential, then she's going to leave me behind, which is a form of projection for them because that's how most of them operate. A lot of Black men, when they level up and they get more money and they become more famous, they leave their first wife behind. Most Black women don't think of that way. What usually happens is most Black women, when they get their degrees and they make more money and things like that, they try to bring their man along with them. They try to get their man in school. They try to get their man to get his certifications. They try to help the man become a better version of himself so that the relationship can actually be more powerful and stronger financially. You need money in relationships. I'm sorry. If you want to live in a certain zip code, you want to give your children a certain standard of living, you want to eat the best foods and live in the best neighborhood, you have to have the money to do so. So a lot of Black women are not selfish with power. It's just that Black men don't like to share power equally. They want to be the ones to run things so that you're dependent on them. And once you start to level up, they begin to project their own intentions towards you. And then they get intimidated by you, right? And they basically try to abuse you into submission like Martell did to Melody. Okay? So initially, Martell was cool with Melody doing all the work as far as the administrative work, because when you're running a business, it's not just about your 9-to-5 gig. Martell had a 9-to-5 gig, which is why he had time to cheat with Ariane for so many hours per day. Okay? Every single day he was seeing this girl. He could do that because he wasn't running the offices. He wasn't dealing with the contracts, the paperwork, payroll, taxes. He wasn't doing any of that stuff. He had Melody in the back offices handling that business, which is not a 9-to-5. That's actually like an 8-to-8 situation, okay? If you're running your own business, you do not have time or luxury to have a whole affair for 5 years. So hold on, wait a minute. I need you guys to listen to this, okay? Martell did not want to get his builder's license because he said he didn't have to because Melody had it, right? But because Melody had her builder's license, she didn't have as much time as she could have to give him attention, to satisfy him, to bolster his ego. She didn't have time for that. And Martell knew internally that he was using Melody for that. And he was insecure that Melody would find out that he was using her for that. Melody, I think, already knew. I think she figured out later on that Martell was using her for her business acumen, for her license, for her intellect. She figured that out later on. And Martell became very paranoid about that because that's exactly what was happening. He said it himself. Why get your license if you don't have to? I'm going to go to Fred just like I went to Melody. I'm going to go to Marsau just like I went to Melody. Melody and I were partners. We were equal partners, but you did not have the equal responsibility, which is why you had time to cheat for 5 years when Melody was in the office busting her ass. Okay, high value man. So this is why I'm talking about this. Yesterday, Vivica Fox made some comments about Kevin Samuels, about his karma and things like that. And, you could take it with a grain of salt, whatever the case may be. It is what it is, right? And Martell felt the need to defend his leader, his godfather, right? And so basically he was, throwing shots at the women physically for their age and their income and things like that. He was throwing shots at women for celebrating Kevin Samuels' death or being happy that he's gone. He was insulting their appearance. And in my mind, I'm like, hold up. This guy had a beautiful, slim, feminine, fit, two of them. He had a beautiful, slim, feminine, fit wife and a beautiful, young, slim, feminine, fit girlfriend for 5 years. And they're both single mothers. Arion's been fucking Martell for 7 years and they can't even spend Mother's Day together. And they have a child together, okay? Melody used her license to elevate the whole family, and he cheated on her with somebody that he didn't even want to be with at the end of the day. So this man, Martell, has the audacity to try to use Kevin Samuels' points to shame women into being submissive, feminine, friendly, fit, and all this shit. But Arion submitted to him to the point where she's a baby mama for him after sleeping with him for 7 years and not having anything to show for it except blocked messages on Mother's Day. He can't even bring her around his family on Mother's Day, okay? Melody, the same thing. Feminine, beautiful, fit, friendly, all this stuff. She submitted to Martell to the point where she made him a partner in their business when she was the one with the license. She gave him supervisor, managerial, and co-ownership powers when he should have been a freaking employee, like the contractors who were building the houses on the field. So Melody, slim, beautiful, young, fit, feminine woman that he met in college with no kids when he met her, she gave this man equal power, and he used that equal power to try to push her down, right? He used the money that Melody was generating for their businesses to take care of another woman in order to weaponize this woman against Melody so Melody would have lower self-esteem. So Martell was using Melody's builder's license and her business acumen, which elevated him. He was trying to use the gifts that she brought to their relationship to knock her down. He was trying to use the things that she brought into the relationship as a young, black, slim, feminine, beautiful, fit woman. He was using that to elevate his status while trying to oppress her at the same time under the guise of, yeah, we're going to do this together. We partners. I made you the CEO of Holt & Holt. Melody became the CEO of Holt & Holt because she had the builder's license. But the reason why Martell had the audacity to assume this in the first place, to assume he had equal power in the relationship, to assume he had equal power in their businesses, he had the audacity to assume this because Melody submitted to that role. I'm the wife. I'm, supporting my husband. I want to share power with my husband. We're going to be a power couple. Melody did not need him to be a power couple. She was powerful in her own right. She had the builder's license. She didn't need him for anything. She just did it for his ego. And as a result of him being insecure about his inability to be disciplined enough to get his builder's license, to help Melody run the business so she has time to be home with the kids more, right? Instead of him doing that, he goes out and uses her money to take care of another female who is basically broke and dependent on him financially. So he got 2 submissive women, one broke, one with money, both of them beautiful, slim, right? Young, feminine. They both submitted to him. And where did their lives end up as a result of that? Melody ended up being divorced and a single mother of 4 children, and Ariane ended up being in some sort of blocked off and on relationship with a man who doesn't even want her around for Mother's Day. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So I was giving Martell extra credit for being a supportive Black husband, but he wasn't being supportive because he was altruistic and egalitarian, and he wanted, to see Melody win because it would make both of them win. Yeah, but he wanted both of them to win, but Melody carrying the weight on her back. Because he didn't have to do anything if he had somebody else to do it for him. Just like with Fred and just like with Marsau, right? And so for you to use your wife like this for 13, 14 years to an extent. Now, I'm not saying that Martell in the beginning didn't have any ideas, fine. But Melody had the brains and the discipline to take them to the next level. And Martell was perfectly fine taking the lead from Melody when she wanted to share the power with him. But once she started to grow into her power as a CEO, she started to become more prominent in the industry, make more money. He became more insecure because guess what? She was the one being called for the meetings. She was the one being flew out to go to speak at certain events. She was the one who was being asked to represent the company because that's what she was doing while Martell was on the field messing with the next chick. Okay? The reason why Melody became more prominent in their relationship was because she was doing most of the work. This is out of Martell's mouth. Not directly, but the fact that he said, yeah, you can get your paperwork, but you don't have to. He's correct, but you can't come at Fred and Marsau the way you came at Melody, because most men don't like to share power with other men who don't do the work. The reason why Fred and Marsau want Martell to get his builder's license because they know the nature of men. Men don't like to share power. They know that Martell has the potential to go up in there and act like he's running shit. So they're saying, in order for you to earn the right to run shit over here or to be an equal partner, you better have equal paperwork because we have to work for that and our license is on the line. So we can't put our license on the line for somebody who's irresponsible and lazy and who wants to piggyback off of other people's hard work like he was doing to Melody. All this shit these men say about women, none of them can deny the fact that Melody was the brains in that relationship. None of them can deny the fact that she actually elevated Martell. So all this shit that men talk about women being lazy and women, being not being submissive and women being bossy, especially Black women, they cannot deny the fact. None of the chauvinistic ass men on these shows can deny the fact that Melody is a freaking boss, a woman with a builder's license in a male-dominated industry, a Black woman at that. To the point where she was elevating her husband and raising his status, and they basically attributed her license to him. Fred was like, I thought you had the license. Of course he did. Everybody assumed that Martell had the builder's license because Melody shared the power with him to the extent that people could not see his flaws because she was shining so bright in the relationship. So for you to hide behind your wife's success and her hard work and to use that hard work and success against her to justify sleeping with somebody who had nothing to offer you, who you don't even want to be with now, then you have the audacity to go on Vivica Fox's timeline or her comment section and talk about the very women who do exactly what Melody does every freaking day for these men. There are so many women like Melody out here who want their man to do better, who want to support their man, who will take care of their man's business, who will help him go to school, they will do so much for these men. I've seen it every single day, but these men don't acknowledge that because they feel slighted. They feel weaker when they have to acknowledge how much women actually do for them, how much Black women actually support them. I was watching a series of interviews by a singer named Joelle. She passed away recently. Rest in peace to her. And she talked about the West Coast rappers from Death Row and NWA and whatever. They did not support the Black women in their music, in the industry, right? They didn't support their careers. The women were just there to give the background vocals and to take care of these men emotionally and to feed them, and to be their whipping boards and their sounding boards and to give them sex. But they would not put them in any position of prominence or any position where the woman is visible. She has control of her career. She's getting some shine. These men did not do that for her. So she died with no money, because these men who she helped to build a label for, right? Because Kevin Samuels said women aren't needed for anything. There were so many women on death row who helped the label to become what it was. And they didn't get any credit for it. This is what I think is the problem now. I think I figured out the issue. The reason why Black men, by and large, not all of them, resent Black women is because they resent how dependent they have to be on many Black women to get shit done. That's where I think the problem lies. It is not the fact that Black women are loud and big and fat and strong. No, it's the fact that most of these Black men know that they would not get to where they are today as far as success if it were not for the support of a Black woman, Black mothers, Black sisters, Black aunties, Black female friends, okay, Black girlfriends, Black wives that they eventually cheat on with a woman who doesn't know how broken and broke he was before the wife fixed him up. The reason why so many women hold on to these raggedy ass men is because they've invested a lot of time, energy, and resources to get these men to a certain level. And once these men get to that level, they want to shit on the woman who reminds them of their failures and their weakness. So they want to get with somebody who puts them on a pedestal. Shout out to Martell, right? But more than likely, most times these women who put these men on the pedestal, they end up in a worse off position. Shout out to Ariane. Because Ariane submitted to everything that Martell asked her to do. She was helping him to disrespect his wife, right? She would only talk about the negative things that Melody had done. She was basically a parrot for him, a puppet for him, or his microphone to talk shit about Melody without actually having to do it out of his own mouth, because he knows how ridiculous he would look talking about the woman who elevated him to the point where people actually thought he was a real boss. That would look real crazy for Martell to say the things that Ariane said about Melody. It would look crazy. Not to mention the fact that he is the father of their children. He would look insane. So he used Ariane to take jabs at Melody over the past couple of years. And what did Ariane get out of it? Nothing. This is what happens when you submit to men. For the most part. Not all times, but when you are submitting to broken, insecure men who don't know who they are, who don't have the discipline or a sense of responsibility to take care of themselves independently, right? Who don't want to make sacrifices to become the Melody Holtz of the world, as far as somebody who is about their business, taking care of things and trying to build for their future. When you don't have the discipline for that, then you're going to resent women who have the ability to do what you cannot do. How dare she be more powerful than me? She's a woman. Now, Martell doesn't mind Marsau having his builder's license. He doesn't mind Fred having his builder's license and working with him. But he had a problem with Melody, in a sense, not flexing on him, because I don't think she did that. He had a problem with Melody actually being acknowledged for having this license and using it to grow their company. She was the one in the meetings, okay? Negotiating contracts. Speaking to people from different parts of the world who wanted to invest in Huntsville. She was the one doing that when he was supposed to be out in the field managing the work on the ground. Okay, the construction work. So that's why he had the time. And that, those hours in at 5 o'clock, construction workers go home. I think they work from like 8 or 7 in the morning. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So Martell had plenty of time to go out and cheat while Melody was taking care of their business and protecting their licenses in the office. Martell was complaining to Melody in season 1. When I call you, you don't have time to answer the phone. Of course she doesn't have time to answer the phone. She's running 2 businesses because she has the license. But if you knew that and weren't trying to piggyback off of her to look like the boss and not do any boss work, then you would have known this. Do you know how frustrating it is for somebody to use you for something that you worked for and then resent you for the thing that they are using you for while trying to destroy you because you have the thing that they're using to elevate themselves? Do you know how frustrating that is? That's crazy making right there. How are you going to betray the person you were using to elevate your status because they didn't have time for you? But the only way you were going to be able to enjoy the status that this woman gave you was because she was working extra hard. Do you know how insane that is? That is insane. And this is why Melody burned that shit to the ground. She's not perfect. Nobody said she was. But this is why she burned it to the ground. I used my license and my hard work and my intellect and my beauty and my charm to get our family in a different income bracket, to give our family some public esteem and recognition. And you turn around and stab me in the back with the very thing that you were using to elevate your own status because you didn't have your business license. That is fucking insane. And this is why Martell should not be talking about anything pertaining to Black women and dating, because he's a part of the freaking problem. And if Kevin Samuels were alive and he were to hear this story, he would say, you are freaking idiots. You're an idiot. You're part of the problem. Yes, Martell wears nice suits, and, he cleans himself up well. He takes care of his body. But his self-esteem and his mentality is fucking garbage. No work ethic, no discipline, fear of failure, a lack of accountability for his actions, right? And you basically abuse your cash cow. You tried to destroy the person who was giving you your status. Martell tried to destroy the woman who made him the man that he was, to the point where Fred thought that he had the builder's license. Everybody thought that he did, including myself, until season 3, when Chris came to Melody, was like, yeah, you have the builder's license, so the people want to talk to you about the 47 acres. We were like, what? She had the license this entire time and she didn't even bring it up during their discussions about the business? Wow. And Martell is saying, I did everything. I gave you the idea to start this company. It was me. I helped build your brand. No, you were pimping Melody. That's what you were doing. You were pimping Melody, and you knew that if she looked better, by default, you would look better. And if you looked better, you would have more power in society. You would have more power within your social circle. You would have more power in your family because of your marriage to Melody. And what do men do when they have power? More than likely, they abuse it, especially when it comes to the women around them. When men become more powerful, or they feel more powerful, they begin to abuse the women in their community, in their family, in their circle with that power. Just ask Suge Knight. Just ask Dr. Dre. Just ask Martell. What did Martell do when he started to feel more powerful and feeling himself more because of Melody's success and because of what Melody was doing for him? He started having a whole affair. He had a whole girlfriend, flying her out, spending thousands of dollars of Melody's money on her, because without her, he wouldn't have that kind of money. So with his power that he was gaining, he was using it to control and subjugate and dominate and oppress Melody, which is what many men do, and which is the reason why many Black women do not feel comfortable giving Black men power in relationships, because it usually turns abusive. So let me use my light to help you become a better man. But once you become a better man, now you're going to shit on me because I had the power to give you that light in the first place? You're going to take it from me so I can't take it back from you? That's what's usually happening. These men try to take the power from the woman who gave it to them so that these women don't have the power to take it back. So now here comes the abuse. Here comes the cheating. Here comes the lying and subjugation. Here comes the manipulation. Here comes all that shit to put the woman back in her place, because if she's as strong as I am, she has the power to check me. And as a man, I can't deal with that. Women are supposed to be beneath men. That's what they told you guys. And guess the fuck what? Y'all were wrong. Sorry. Sorry, Martell. Sorry, Kevin Samuels followers. Black women aren't just mad about Kevin Samuels telling the truth, quote unquote. We're mad about him ignoring the reality of so many Black women taking care of men and helping them to elevate their status in society. Helping them get through schools, helping them get jobs, helping them get off of drugs. There are so many men who have these stories in our community, and they did not support the women who were complaining about this show, about Kevin Samuels. That is the problem. It's one-sided. What about these women who are doing this? Black men have no money in the community in general. So black women are using their scraps to take care of men. These men love to brag about the Kevin Samuels statistic that most black women make less than $50,000 a year, whatever. And guess what? With that little $50,000 a year, black women are taking care of men in jail. They're taking care of men and their families, their siblings. They're taking care of their homies, their whatever. They're looking out for the men in their community with the little scraps they have. But instead of getting credit for that, we're shitted on for being bitter and black and fat. Because we're so busy taking care of other people, we don't have the resources or the time or the energy to take care of ourselves. Okay? This is what happens. This is why women are mad about Kevin Samuels. I'm going to leave it there, but I'm going to address this in part 2 today. Because I'm going to discuss Martell and Arion having a little breakup over Mother's Day. I'm going to tie all this together. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.